going to be 100% pick ban. It's going to be exciting stuff.
Let's find out. Team BDS taking on the Mad Lions. Picks and bans underway. Let's immediately just remind everybody, both of these teams took losses yesterday. At least from my eyes, slightly different ways. I think BDS, their early game looked solid. I liked the Yasuo top. It looked good until it didn't look good, where SK bounced back. And Mad Lions, on the other hand, got manhandled, shall we say. So both of these teams looking to bounce back from yesterday's performances. What do you think we want to see from maybe adaptations in the draft? I know Mad Lions had a few question marks when we were preparing for today.
Yeah, we heard Mac in the interview there as well, kind of talking about how they want to try and be more creative, trying to bring out more of these picks that can be a bit more interesting. I just think you got to take it a little bit slow, because there's so many good answers to things like if you're going to go for Nephelios, if you're going to go for these early picks in the draft, even going for things like the Shogat as well. You're showing your hand very early, which opens up opportunities for those counter picks to come through. Thus far, though, Mad Lions taking a fairly easy. Annie gone, Heimer gone, big ones, the Gragas, the Ashe, the Caitlyn still all up and available. So we'll have to see exactly what the priority is going to be here.
I mean, you talked about this, right? In terms of the 100% presence champions from yesterday, Gragas, Annie, and Ashe. Mad Lions, do they fancy a ban? 5 bans for Ashe yesterday. Heimer and Annie, well, the other two. Rakan as well, removed from the pool. So a lot of these really impactful supports that neither Labrov nor Hillesang can play, and Ashe will be that final ban.
Yeah, I was curious to see exactly what the plan was going to be, because I feel like you could have kept maybe the Ashe open, tried to take something like a Caitlyn Ashe into the bot lane for yourself and go really hyper into that bottom lane, but that hasn't really been the way the Mad Lions played. So I imagine here BDS will try and take the Gragas for the... Oh, sorry, the Gragas is off the board actually. So yeah, exactly. Try and go for something like the Caitlyn, or maybe even looking at that Shogat here as well. We've seen it into that bot lane where you compare with things like a Senna, a Rakan, something that has that melee setup, but it looks like instead they're just going to go back towards the Sejuani.
I mean, in terms of those stable junglers that have that impact, that's great. Shio will be able to find those, large AoE, sort of non-committal ultimates. For Adam, we saw him hovering through a couple of picks at the Darius, the Garen, making me chuckle just a little bit, but Darius, and I think specifically Adam's champion pool, once unique, once special, now kind of effective and very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, Photon even sold the Darius yesterday, so you know, it's starting to get around, but the Aphelios going to be taken here. It's nice. Aphelios been popping up a huge amount. I think this champion quite strong at the moment, especially with the buffs that he's gotten. Also the fact you can generally pair him with something like a Karma or even something like a Lulu, just to get him even more strength in those team fights. And a lot of the times when you've got things like the Jace off the board, team fights tend to be fairly short range, and you've also got that safety net of the Thresh there as well.
I mean, 2 thoughts about this. Number one, we were talking briefly about maybe wanting or expecting a little more Aphelios yesterday. I want to see how today and tomorrow's drafts play out. For Kazi specifically, it is his 3rd most played champion, 28 games. 1 and 2 is Kai'Sa and Ezreal, 46-42. So it's quite a big drop. More importantly for me, it's only a 39% win rate, so not the most historical success. We know he's going to be playing up into that Zeri and Lulu. And Mad Lions will have one more pick here before they close out phase 1.
Yeah, I imagine you have to go for the jungler here, though. You don't really want to leave the likes of the Vi open. You want to get that for yourself here, so then you can have that as an answer into the Zeri. And honestly, you're setting yourself up really well here as Mad Lions. Pretty standard, not really going for that creative stuff that we saw yesterday, but right now, strong bot lane with the Aphelios Thresh. Great setup with the Vi, especially into things like the Zeri. So thus far, I feel like Mad Lions have set themselves up for a nice team fight.
And I think when you look at both of these teams, pretty good engage tools, some options for disengage, great scaling as far as the bot laners are going to be concerned. What happens in the solo lanes? Jackson are removed from the pool. I think when I look at Niski's champion pool has been more supportive of late. He began the year on this carries and kind of reshaping people's opinions of him. Yesterday, however, I think it was the Cho'Gath into the ASOL. Not as effective as he would have wanted.
Yeah, I feel like we'll see him go back towards something a bit more bog standard here, because I imagine they're going to try and give Chasey counterpick here in that top side. So if you end up going for something like a Victor in the mid lane here for Niski, that could work out well. And then just going to see exactly what the plan is for Adam, because you know he's got that strange champion pull. So already the Jax, the Olaf taken off the board from him as well.
Now, what will Team BDS do as far as their solo lane is? Mad Lions, do they throw in that sort of tanky, supportive mid laner for Niski, allow the counter pick for Chasey in the top lane? That's probably where my instincts would lead. But Talia, not. The last 2 bans for BDS, it was the Jax and the Olaf, removed there by the Mad Lions. And we'll start to get a better feel here for how these comps are going to round out. I think you've got, like I mentioned, some strong engage tools from the jungle, pretty decent frontline disengage tools, as well as some pick power from at least the support.
Yeah, I think the Mad Lions are just missing a little bit more of that front line, to be perfectly honest. I think something like a Sion could actually do really well for Chasey, but again, I think leaving him for counter pick is going to be better, but never mind, blind Fiora into that top side. Now, we saw this from Chasey last split where he did look good, but I actually, despite the fact mechanically and he got these early leads, I wasn't the biggest fan of how Mad Lions tried to support him in those side lanes. So I think this is going to be a big question mark for Mad Lions now to see how can they set up their lane states to give Chasey that winning opportunity.
I mean, he played 2 games of Fiora during the regular season and went to both of them victories over a 6 KDA. So as you mentioned, yes, worked well. The answer into it, no surprise here for Adam, is going to be the Darius. Victor currently being hovered. And for Nisqy, where did they go? We talked about the fact, limited front line. You've now got side lane threat. You've got scaling. What do you want to see from Nisqy? Because in my mind, something a bit tonkier wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm curious if he ends up going for something like a Twisted Fate here. You just try and play full side lanes.
Full pick.
Yeah, just try and play for pick, try and play for sides. You've got great setup with the Vi, with the Thresh as well. Try and lean in towards that style. Even Arcade, you're talking about it yesterday, is hovering the Azir at the moment now. Remember, this is 13.4 Azir, has got nerfed, so maybe not the best, but actually going to be going for the Veigar in that mid lane. So we are getting some spiciness from Nisqy still.
Okay, so Nisqy has played 7 professional games of Veigar. He's won 5 of them. When we zoom out and look at these comps, I understand what BDS wants to do. How the hell does Mad Lions play this out?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to be side lane coming through from the Fiora, trying to see if you can set her up. You're going to have decent team fighting where the idea is Yoya goes in and then it's about zone control coming through with the Veigar. Hilly, because he's got that Thresh, going to be throwing out machine gun hooks, seeing if he can try and keep Aphelios safe and enabling him as the main carry. So a big 1-4 split push idea here for Mad Lions. Whereas when you look across at BDS, it's full-on team fight. Just try and get Darius in as easy as you can, with Shio being that main engage tool.
The one thing I'm a little nervous about here for Mad Lions, if they're ever in a position where they start to fall behind, when you look at a Darius, when you look at a Lulu, you look at a Sejuani running at you, you've got what? A Veigar baby cage is the only thing really slowing down the enemies?
But the nice thing is, it's a Darius. So as Darius is in the cage, he's in the safe space. This is the don't touch, you know. That's where you should be all right. But I think the problem is, as you say, once you start to go in towards, hey, can we flank from multiple angles? Can Shio get a big engage tool off? Or get a big ultimate off to engage? That's where I think you are going to struggle. But I imagine early game, going to have a lot of pressure from Yoya towards that top side. Make sure this Fiora is in a good spot. This Darius isn't really a threat, because otherwise this team just kind of falls apart for Mad Lions.
So let's talk about the early game. Let's talk about the junglers as we load up onto the ref. Mad Lions and Team BDS, they're going to pick up their first win of the spring split. We heard from Max. Sharks had a great interview with him, talking about creativity, talking about adapting their drafts. I think this draft counts for it, but what we want to see is the execution. And frankly, I want to see execution of BDS as well. Yesterday, their mid-game left a lot to be desired, is how I will frame it right now, Dagda.
Yeah, the biggest problem that I saw for them was just the way they tried to set up their lane assignments, where Nuke maybe was trying to catch a wave mid, where realistically should have been bot side, or Adam was kind of in a bad position, but flash forward!
Oh, sentenced to death. Nuke has still got that flash. 150, down to 100. Tick, tick, boom! Nisqy with first blood.
1 for 1 for Hilly. Great way to start the game for the Thresh in that bot side. The fact that you're running this Glacial Augment makes it so difficult for anyone to try and run away the second they get hit by the hook. So nice job there from Hilly to already set up Nisqy with a nice kill in the early stage.
And that is not a champion that you want to accelerate.
Yeah.
When you do look at the amount of damage, the fact that there's a tier already at 1 minute and 10 seconds, Nisqy is going to be over the moon. Allow him to build up that AP by spamming the Q, and that's exactly what Mad Lions would want.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you get a double start here on your items is fantastic for Mad Lions. And now Shio and Adam trying to make things happen, but Nisqy's here, spotted on a ward.
Oh, Adam and Shio stepping forward. They've got backup here from Nuke. Both bot laners are trading. Mad Lions have been forced away. All right, Dagda, brief moment. Quick stat for you. When was the last time we saw a Veigar in the LEC? This is an unfair fight because you just joined us.
It was 2.5 years ago.
A spot on. Nuke Duck actually played it in 2020, so you are literally bang on.
Look at the Irish there.
But zoom out of this. Shio, with a little bit of backup, is able to steal that red buff away. I can see Mad Lions have placed a ward just behind the BDS red buff and already starting still. So small advantage, or like small clawback for Shio.
It's big for Adam though, because essentially what this means is Elyoya can't do a 3-camp start and stay up on this top side for a potential play onto Adam. Now Adam actually gets to play very aggressive in this lane if he wants to, although having the level 2 hit for Chasey early causing a bit of issues.
Exactly. I mean, a little bit of extra time in lane allows Chasey to step forward, get that bully, push the wave, but he does need to be cautious. Remember, Shio cleared most of this top half of the jungle. If Chasey continues to pressure and step past that river, step forward, it will open a potential gank. You can see Shio clearing out his blue buff and a lot of aggressive trading, because down in the bottom lane, we caught a glimpse there of Crowny Lebrov stepping forward, Hilly using that Hex Flash to threaten.
This sucks for Chasey. The wave is in a terrible spot, and Shio gonna hop over the wall to avoid that ward. Good call out there from Adam to let him know that this ward is down, but he needs to crash this. Otherwise, Adam just freezes this and he loses the lane.
Battle ball, battle ball. Chasey's gonna look for those hit points and steps. Sidesteps the flail. Will be able to dash forward. Flash out from Shio. Applies the red, gets the knockup. Flash forward, repulsed by some time, and Chasey's able to escape. It's not over yet, as in the bottom lane. Elyoya is looking for those denting blows, but Crowny's able to hop over the wall. Escapes with his life. Summoner spells blown. 1, 2, 3 for 1 in that top lane.
I like that we get to see the annoyance of both these side laners, where Fiora just about able to squeeze away because Shio didn't have his Q up, but Niski very low and in a bit of trouble here with Shio around, but we'll just back away.
Yeah, the flash not being available for Shio, I think, limits it. But look at this. Mad Lions continuing to step forward. They know they forced Crowny away. They forced his flash. So that's allowing a small invade. And now there's a counter punch. Dagda, we're going full LPL in this one. Action all around.
Elyoya is in a lot of trouble though. Shio should be able to move up, but knowing that he has the flash, he doesn't want to go. Shio steps away from the ward though. He's caught Elyoya here.
Oh, waiting for it. Waiting for the engage. Steps forward, not going to be able to find anything. I think the cooldown being too high at this low level, couldn't find that additional dash. What he will do though is pick up the Scuttle Crab. Shio, at least for now, pulling a little further ahead, and Niski already backed, already shopped, and TPing to lane, and we're still not done. Now Adam continue to step forward, has the minion wave behind him, looking for those Qs, getting the spam out below 100. Chasey is going to be in trouble. The heal, the damage. Adam takes the solo.
He wanted to get the riposte there for Chasey as Adam went for the apprehend, but didn't quite get the timing right. So Adam manages to finish that one off. Hilly even on the roam up now with Elyoya, trying to see if he can hold on to this wave state in a decent spot for Chasey.
Man, all of a sudden, Adam, no flash, no ghost, has the threat of Elyoya and Hilly. Blue buff and a little bit low mana. Level 5 into the level 3s, no minions to deal with. The CC has to connect. Burning, pull back from the flay. The double apprehend, death sentence, and that is just easy, easy, lemon squeezy. Denting Blows picks it up second for Mad Lions.
And a really nice job from Elyoya and Hilly there. So Hilly has the reset, knows that he's not going to be under too much pressure on bot side for Karzi, so moves up the top. Adam has to crash that wave. He's not running the TP, so if he ends up letting that wave freeze, Chasey just has an absolute field day. So Mad punishing the fact that Adam had to overextend.
Look at this, caught inside the baby cage. Hilly's not done yet. Another flawless spell shot forces the flash away from Nuke, getting him out. But Hilly has been everywhere, involved in both of the kills and really trying to set Mad Lions up in the early game.
I was very close there, Elyoya, just slightly too late to follow up there. Even the flay into the CC from Niski, super nice there. But you can see now Labrov moving into mid lane to try and help out there. Let Niski TP, or TP back into mid. Nuclear, sorry.
Nuclear, I mean, it's too many nukes right now, so Labrov will get chunked out by Niski's ultimate. Okay, we may have a brief moment here of no action. 400 gold advantage to Mad Lions. Dragon went to BDS. The thing I do want to highlight is yesterday's game, BDS were significantly ahead in the early. Up 2.5k at 14, 3 KD, and more importantly, 2 Heralds as well. I think in terms of their gameplay, their early game, very strong. Where it fell apart was the mid game, the decision making, and of course, SK is just team fight engages. This is great for Mad Lions to already be in an advantageous position this early up.
I think the big one was how they actually tried to play lane assignments and not playing around Vision, and now once more that Vision going to come back to bite them as Adam slightly overextended, but the jungler is here.
2v2, Chasey can't really fight below 150, a lot of minions to work with. Elyoya is going to be forced to flash, jumped on by Sejuani, stunned up, and all of a sudden Elyoya will get taken out. Adam gets his second of the game. And it's just been non-stop action. 6.5 minutes in 4 kills and fights in every single lane.
And this side lane's starting to become a problem. We said Chasey needed to get these leads because he's the one that has to put pressure in side lanes. If you're in a team fight, he isn't going to do as much as something like a Darius if you're up against a short-range composition like Mad Lions. And Adam getting that early lead and getting more.
Oh man, that's going to be just another for a possible buy sometime. Chasey runs away, escapes with his life, and manages to get the counter with the help of the tower. That was flawless. It is coming down to pixels.
It was the friendly fire. The riposte on the stun from Shio ends up hitting Adam, man. Just like that. Fantastic stuff now, Crowny. Nearly in trouble.
The Moonlight Vigil deck that did so much. White-green getting that range out, using those chakrams as well. Crowny's down low, no flex, but does have that cleanse.
Yeah, there's a combo that you can do with the Felios on green guns where if you shoot the ult and you know it's going to hit, you can actually throw out the Q after as well, and you have enough time between the Q landing to get a double headshot essentially off on the Felios, and that's what Karzi was trying to do. Would have ended Crowny, but not quite able to connect with the Q follow-up means he's a little bit slow and not having enough damage to finish that one off, but nice job there from Karzi to try and go for that.
Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. In terms of the game being up a little bit of gold, once we come out of this replay, break down for me who you think this benefits, but such great counterplay from Chasey.
But watch here, riposte, it's on Shio's stun. So it ends up having the riposte from Shio trying to get the CC onto Chasey is what ends up killing Adam in the end, and Shio doesn't want to follow up on towards the Fiora either, so nice job from Chasey. But at the moment, the kill's getting back into Fiora, fantastic, which is why Shio wants to immediately try and shut that play down, and Hilly up here as well wants to help him out. You don't get to look away from the screen.
Not at all. I don't get to get any of my prep. I think I want to give some credit here to Hilly. He's been very impactful across the lane. Karzi has been able to maintain an even CS in that bottom lane. Labrov is a small level advantage, but once again, look at your minimap. I mean, look at how many members are congregating. It's already a 3 versus 3, and if Adam continues to make his way down, potential for a 4v3. So I'm going to go back and say, like, does this benefit either squad? Like, it's just being drawn down into chaos.
So for BDS, it's great because they can use this in topside for Adam to get some of the plates there. But for Crowny, he's actually going to lose out on this play because they hard forced the answer for the mid push for Mad Lions. But then Mad actually get to enter into bot side jungle, and now Crowny's forced to back away from this bot lane tower. So at the moment, 5 plates on top, you're going to lose another plane on bot. So a lot of the pressure this Rift Herald has already been answered on bot lane.
Apprehend, guillotine coming down. Decimate needs to land. Chasey's going to be forced away. No movement from the rest of the lanes. Minion wave push forward. It's a +5 CS, more importantly, a 500 gold lead. And Adam is clearly stepping forward. Alyoya can jump in. Flashes and ultimates available for both of the BDS bot lanes.
Shio reset immediately off a Rift Herald is now in the spot side though, so Alyoya kind of missed his timing window. Did end up stealing by the Raptors on that top side, but now with Shio on the spot end, it was very difficult to actually pressure any more on this bottom side.
Oh man, take a look at this now. Once again, 3 versus 3. That's a route onto Crowny. Caught out by the assault, and Battery taken out. LeBron forced to flash for his life. Alyoya's already taken down. Crowny gets a kill. That evens it out. 3 apiece. The CC and damage reply was just too high. Death Sentence connects, but Karzi's too low. Flash and Cleanse available for both bot laners while that's going on. Trades in the middle lane as the Chaos Storm is thrown out. The Primordial Burst is still there for Niski if he can find some lockdown. But another kill to BDS evens out the goals.
Yeah, Gravitum is a great gun for setting up those plays, but terrible for when they actually have to try and fight back. Great job from Shio, just reading that Alyoya was going to try and make a play on that bot side and answering down there. Now with Dragon up and available, you have Crowny who should get a decent reset off. You can start to move down, and yeah, trades galore in this top side. But Chasey still doing a good job. Despite the 2 kills going over to Adam, he is keeping the net CS in his favor.
I mean, Dagda, you're not going to get a chance to really break much down, because every time the action breaks out, Shio responding just in the nick of time, and that Glacial Prison did so much.
Yeah, the Glacial Prison is huge here, because as we said, look, Karzi, he has some damage, but with these guns, it's just not what you want for fighting. So when you have Crowny who's able to free fire this entire time, they can burst down the jungler, and Hilly has already thrown everything in the kitchen sink in that fight.
Well, take a look at this. Already, BDS on the move, looking to set up another. Alyoya is being forced away back into his jungle.
This is the problem, though, because you had the late reset coming through because you lost that fight on boss, now BDS are in river.
Hilly flashing into the baby cage, but there's 3 members of BDS waiting for him. He stays alive just long enough for now. All of a sudden, the turn. Crowny jumps onto Alyoya. Hilly's already dropped. 4 members of BDS trying to find yet another. It's blue-purple for Karzi. Alyoya's locked in place. No, too little, too late. 2 more kills to BDS.
And this is just great from BDS, reading, hey, look, we can use the tempo that we picked up, move into River, get the control, and Hilly throwing himself into the middle to try and set up this damage from Niski. But with Rod of Ages, even the tier, Niski doesn't have the damage to one-shot someone right now. So for BDS, they capitalize on that, and we get their second dragon.
I mean, when you look at the compositions as well, the number of skirmishes that we've seen, despite Hilly's best efforts, Shio seems to be everywhere as well, really comboing up multiple members, and fortunately Hilly just not fully aware the rest of BDS is there.
Yeah, I can understand, hey look, if I can flay into the event horizon, we get the stun, maybe we can get a quick kill, but not expecting, as you say, multiple members from BDS to already be in position, and it means that Mad Lions just get to set up, fall behind as BDS get to capitalize on everything that they'd set up. Now you got Yoya trying to move back up towards this top side as he's trying to see if he can get some vision, because Rift Herald's in 2.5 minutes, but a lot of this is going to be a case of, okay, can we get some damage on towards Adam in this top side so we have a chance of setting up for that.
And I think when you look at BDS, the way they lost yesterday to SK, they were able to pull a significant advantage early on. And unfortunately, the team fight comp SK put together just made it very difficult, and they weren't able to find the fights. The comp they have today will be much stronger at that. The Darius, the Sage frontline, the Lulu for backup. You can see them already grouping to try jump here onto Niski. He's going to be flashing away from the prison. Adam is ghosted forward and steps backwards once the event horizon is dropped. And just before the action breaks out, Dagda, I think Crowny's the guy I want to look at, right? Because if he's able to dance and dodge around, look at his stats in the laning phase from earlier just this week. Phenomenal performance, and with the Zeri Lulu, can have a pop-off game today.
And I think that's the most interesting part that we saw from BDS yesterday was their willingness to play around Crowny and Lavrov in that bot side to see if he could step up and be the carry. But now, in this game, hasn't been getting those same resources. Is slightly ahead, but I think with the 2 kills being answered by the plates that have been taken by Mad, this is going to be an all-out brawl when both these AD carries get to 3 items, and we are inevitably going to have those team fights.
And also, I don't think it's too facetious to say, you can't really say who's got all the resources, because there's been so much movement this game. Really down on this bottom lane. All right, Hilly and Kazi, they've got themselves 3.5 plates. It's 12 minutes, they're pushing onto the tower. Shio starts to step back. While that's happening, Adam is pushing the top lane. It's pretty much advantages for top jungle, minor for bot on the BDS side. Only small leads for Niski and Hilly, and Shio is waiting. No prison available. It's on cooldown for a few more seconds.
There's a lot of Mad Lions players down here. They want to try and get this tower, see if they can have Niski help out, but you've got Nuke on the way now as well.
3, 2, 1. Wild Growth has already been used. Shio's holding onto the prison, throws it out wide. The tower has already fallen, but Yoya's gone way too deep. Forced to flash away. Charges up the Q, dashes away from the laser. Hilly buys some time with the death sentence, but gets sapped down himself. As Crowny is on a killing spree, his 3rd of the game. Despite the tower falling, the kill goes to BDS.
Shio's ultimate onto Niski stopped him from following up in that fight and meant that BDS could regroup afterwards. Brilliant stuff from BDS on that fight, and with that roam from Nuke.
Now, of course, that does still mean that the tower goes to Mad Lions. It's only a 400 gold game. Every time I see these two trading, I hold my breath. But I do want to highlight 2 dragons at 15 minutes, with another spawning in 2. We're playing on an Ocean Rift as well. Mad Lions cannot afford to give that Ocean Soul over to BDS.
But here's the problem, right? They'd already cleared out this mid-wave, so you already know the nuke's in the way. But watch this ultimate from Shio. As Shio hits Niski with that, that's as Yoya hits the button to go in. So Niski can't actually get into range with the ultimate to deal the damage he needs to onto the CC'd AD carry. And that means that when BDS show up with all the artillery, they're able to finish off Mad Lions.
All right, so what does this mean now as you move into a little bit more of this mid-game? Normally, in a game of League, this is when we'll start to see a lot of lane assignment shifting, a lot of pressure. We've had that for 10 minutes already. The Rift Herald once again falling, goes into the hands of BDS.
The big problem that you're going to have for Mad Lions now is you're already down 2 dragons. You add a Rift Herald into the mid lane, you automatically get prio, you start to lean over towards this dragon, and then that's where you can really start to shut out Mad Lions. And you can already see Fiora doesn't have control on top side, so it feels like you have an opportunity here as BDS. Crowny and Blabrov need to reset off this wave, though, if they want to try and contest.
Talk to me about the team fight. It's 50 seconds until this dragon spawns. Mad Lions have to contest either this one or the next one. But in my eyes, this is a straight-up advantage for BDS in those 5v5s.
Definitely, and especially when you look at Crownie, because he should be able to finish off this Bloodthirster. No, not quite. Okay, because one of the big things is this new build that we're seeing with Zeri is because you take the overheal, you get the extra shield from your Bloodthirster, you get the extra shield from your Mortal Shield Bow. You become so difficult to burst out in these mid-game fights when you complete those 2 items. So the fact you're already looking at a 3rd Dragon now at 16 minutes, it becomes very difficult for Mad to have that burst potential to kill out Crownie. And as well, you've already got positioning here for BDS as they're starting to move in with Shio, and Mad are, well, now moving in a bit blind.
Ooh, if Mad Lions can find somebody to burst down, obviously, that's how they want to play this. Use that Event Horizon, use that Death Sentence, but the Rift Herald dropped in the middle lane. Death Sentence connects onto the Battle Pig, but Shio's able to avoid the Event Horizon. Tower falls. What do BDS do? Concede the dragon and push another tower? That seems to be the case.
Yeah, you definitely should. I mean, 1 dragon, an Ocean Dragon to Mad isn't the end of the world, but if you get 2 Terrors off this push and the potential, I mean, look at them already moving. They're immediately running up towards this top side. They want to get another turret for themselves in the top end as well and make it so incredibly difficult now for Mad Lions to really compete with how much gold and how much control they just got on the map.
Yes! Berlin, I love you for that. Thank you very much. I mean, look, that top half of the map is now going to be opened up. A couple of wards placed. They didn't push on this wave, Dagda, for that top outer. Chasey was able to at least shove a wave in. But more importantly for me here, BDS, 1,500 up, 2 dragons to 1. I would have said it was the 20 to 30 minute passage of play against SK where things got squirrely.
Yeah.
But compositionally, it was way harder to execute. This is relatively simple. Can Darius run through an Event Horizon? Does a Glacial Prison? If yes, well, Nuke and Crownie then just delete.
The biggest problem that we saw, though, was how BDS were trying to set up their vision to control their mid-game. That's where SK were finding picks on them and they were able to bring it back. So with Mad Lions, again, having a very pick-heavy composition, you need to be in control and making sure you're not getting caught out around your vision.
And look at this, Mad Lions vision. I'm just highlighting all of it. This looks awful on the minimap, but maybe the observers can zoom out a little. Yes, you guys are so good. Mad Lions have got a lot of defensive wards up in this top off. We're approaching 20 minutes, so Baron hasn't spawned just yet. But while that's happening, BDS have committed to a push on the bottom lane. So we've got a little bit of a split map playing out. And we'll check in on Niski's AP bonus in just a minute from all of that farming from the Baleful Strike. But this should be the 3rd tower secured here in favor of BDS. And with the map open, the gameplay has slowed down a little. And it feels like we may be leaning more towards bigger team fights around objectives if BDS get their way.
Yeah,
Mad Lions try to push the side lanes.
I think the hardest thing now for Mad is if you're not able to control this bot side, it becomes very difficult for you to have that pressure to contest some of these Dragon objectives. But BDS already collapsing.
They are indeed. Shio's gonna at least get the bot. That interrupts the dark passage. And now Kazi's in trouble. Gets pulled backwards by Adam and is blown up by Crownie. Chasey teleports into a 5 versus 4. Nuke is shoving in that middle lane. It's 30 seconds to Baron isn't even alive yet.
It's the fact that Adam was so close in that fight that he just yoinked everyone into the cradle with them and was like, you go to sleep now. Mad Lions just take that step too far in the mid lane, and this is just bad decision making. You already know that BDS have left from that bottom side, and really unfortunate for Karzi, the timing on that, but nice job again from Shio to interrupt with this Sejuani, and Adam unstoppable when he manages to close the distance.
There's always 2 sides to a story. Unfortunate on the side of Kazi, exceptional on the side of Shio. Just dive bombing that lantern. So Crown is now 4-0. It is a 2,000 gold lead, the largest that we've seen throughout the course of 20 minutes. And again, look now, all that vision Mad Lions had placed has been cleared, has been challenged. BDS pushing those waves towards the middle. Baron is up, and it is 2 minutes until the next Drake.
I think the one saving grace for Mad Lions is that it becomes very difficult for BDS to try and push this vision into Mad Lions' side of the jungle. Crownie doesn't really have the push power to get control over mid, so you kind of rely on Nuke to be there, but Nuke has to play towards side. So I think a lot of this is going to be a case of, okay, let's try and push the wave a little bit past mid lane, and then try and see if we can start to teeter in towards this top side where we're having Nuke, we're having Crownie push in, and then try and enter into your top side that way. Otherwise, it becomes very hard to do middle 2 sides.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. This Vigor pick has been interesting. Currently up 30 CS. You can see on the right-hand side of your HUD how many stacks he's built up. Next to that Baleful Strike in the passive. 224. I believe Niski's over 410 AP already, which means that that ultimate of the Primordial Burst will be able to do a sizable chunk. However, he needs to find a way to get past the potential front line and get past the wild growth, which are quote-unquote counters to that high damage.
Yeah, there's a double timer essentially going on here. Niski going to scale to all hell. He's going to be a monster, no doubt about it. But the other timer is actually going to be Labrov. Labrov is going towards that Mikhail's Crucible. He wants to be able to unleash Adam. Basically go, you run into the event horizon, then you run through it. So if you can actually get towards that as Labrov, then these team fights become a little bit easier for the front line to play. But also, Crowny just becomes so much harder to burst down again because of how little bit more tanky this build makes you.
Dagda. Niski just picked up Death Cap. He now has over 615 AP. We're setting up for a team fight. The event horizon is down. That's a big cooldown. Niski's waddling his way to safety. Takes the lantern, but here comes Shio. The prisoner's held on to for now. It's a 1-for-1. Adam was blown up by the primordial burst, and there goes the prison. At least locking down Niski. Crowny is caught out by the cease and desist. Dunk down. Wild Growth throws it back up. Flashes forward. Yoya's taken out. Zap. Pew. Crown is looking to find those kills, but he's caught inside the baby cage. The Baleful Strike will send them away. That event horizon is incredibly pivotal for the Mad Lions.
That's what I want to see from Crowny. The courage to step forward, step up and be accounted for, especially when you got the Lulu in your back pocket. Make sure you can take these fights, and immediately you can see the Mad Lions have to turn tail. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of hilarious just seeing Adam get blown up immediately as he steps forward. But the fact that Crowny then knows, okay, the ultimate from Niski's down, right, I can actually turn and, I mean, Adam gone. Oh. But watch Crowny now. This is what I'm talking about. The fact you have so many shields, you got the wild growth, you can actually play so hyper aggressive with this version of Zeri. We've seen in the LPL from people like Leave on EDG what you can do. Look, how many people are going in onto him there? Between the wild growth, the CC, everything. He stays up for so long, flashing forward. That's how you need to try and play this as BDS.
And of course, Crowny will pick up his 6th kill of the game. Call Labrov, James Bond, with 007 on the scoreline. And the 3rd dragon has now been picked up. So for Mad Lions, yes, they were able to get a kill. Yes, they were able to fend off at least the V1 of the assault. But ultimately, they are behind in gold. They are behind in kills. They are behind in towers. They are behind in dragons. And there may only be one last stand, because if that Ocean Soul is picked up, it does make it harder. I will admit, I didn't think Niski was going to be able to burst down Darius quite as quickly as he did. So kudos to Niski as well as the rest of the Mad Lions.
Immediate Baron start here. The big one is going to be Infinity Edge complete for Crowny before this next dragon. Means he's going to be unstoppable. Mad Lions have already committed too many members to bot side, so won't really be in a position to try and contest this. So Yoya doing his best to get there, but it feels like it's going to be too little too late.
It's going low. It's going low. Here he comes up, death sentence forward, and BDS pick up the Baron at what cost. However, Niski is being run down by Adam just a little. The engage comes out from Yoya. Cease, desist. Labrov taken out. Teleport being channeled as well. Mad Lions have got themselves 30 seconds in a 5 versus 4, but they are now playing into a Baron-empowered BDS. They should at least be able to pick up this tower.
I think that might have been a misclick from Niski on the TP. I think he was trying to get towards the ward that we can just see in here. Oh, that's a big circle. I want the little circle that's just in there, so then he can actually get into position, but doesn't matter.
Well, where's the primordial burst? The apprehend comes forward. That's just so much reverse damage. How am I supposed to play that burst? The prison comes out and Hilly is popped where he stands. BDS are gifted a few kills. They extend that gold lead. And just like that, 30 seconds, Baron-empowered minions, and pretty much free mid lane. This may equal an inhib.
Easily going to be an inhib, and Crowny, with the damage that he has right now, can tear through this. You can already see Yoya trying to go for the reset. It's just a case of how much they actually want to try and take here. Should get the inhibitor. You can already see both side lanes being worked on as well by Nuke and Adam. So back away, get your vision into the jungle, and make sure that you're in a fairly decent spot now to keep this pressure up.
I mean, BDS have kept up the pressure the entirety of this game. 25 minutes in, a kill every 2 minutes, and it feels like it could have been more. I'm tired just watching because Hilly was roaming so much. Shio was ganking every single lane. And the breakneck pace has ultimately led to more advantages for Team BDS. They got the kills, they got the towers. They have been in Mad Lions' face, and this comp from Mad Lions has never had a chance to really breathe or have the time to build up.
And it's a great shout from BDS. Look at the champions you have. They do better in these early skirmishes, in these early fights.
And here's yet another one. As all of a sudden, so much damage onto Hilly. He's going to be forced to flash. Manages to escape for now. Steps forward here. Comes Crowny, the flay, and that's just a zap down from Nuke. The tower falls as well. Baron and Pub Minions still pushing forward. BDS have got so much out of this Baron power play, and they may just be done for now. Chasey trying to get something back, but 5k down, a minute and a half. Take a look at the damage dealt throughout the course of this game. Despite that gigantic burst, it's been Nuke and Crowny really cleaning things up.
And Chasey's just trying his damnedest on his side, but he's never going to get into a position to really threaten a turret. Adam might even stop this.
Oh, he does indeed. The Apprehend comes out, level 15 on level 15. The Noxian Guillotine comes out, one more Decimate. A couple seconds longer for that riposte, but that's huge. 57 on the Dragon, 45 on the Death Timer. Chasey will have to commit the TP, and I think more importantly, BDS are going to be able to get into that river first.
But the problem is for Mad Lions is how do you even try and contest vision to set up then for the TP for Chasey? You already have super minions in the mid lane, you've got everyone on BDS to start to push in on the spot side, and now they're just going to continue this pressure to make sure you're stuck in your own base, and then they just fall back in 30 seconds. It's such an easy pickup for BDS.
Yeah, but look at the itemization difference as well. Crown, the Crucible there for Labrov, IE as well as Bloodthirster. And Mythic completed for Crowny versus 2.5 for Kazi. So just on itemization alone, BDS can smack Mad Lions with their wallets. And Shio, he's waiting. Glacial Prison into an Adam. Apprehend. Niski's the target. He's going to throw out the Baby Kedra on Adam. Will find himself the death sentence in the flay. It's a 2-on-4 as the teleport's coming out. GA has now been popped. Adam's in trouble. The rest of the squad from BDS is pushing into the base. The inhibitors are focused. Decimate buys so much time. 4 members of Mad Lions now running back. As BDS, they are now on the retreat.
And they have to run quick, but I don't think they can get out of here. Mad Lions are coming in.
Here comes Crowny! The Ultra Shock Laser and zap, zap, zap! Chasey is being blown up where he stands! Crowny's got the speed up, he's got the glitter ones, he's got the double, and he's got the backup. Hops over the wall. Ayoya's running for his life. They get the inhibitor on the bottom lane, they get 2 more kills, and now there's a soul available as well. Ayoya's been pushed away, and this is BDS's game to lose.
They are destroying Mad Lions in this one. Fantastic stuff. Nuke probably going to even catch Ayoya here.
Well, that Death Ray is fired out.
Look at Labrov.
Storms are forward.
The little looter
Here
that could.
comes Labrov! He gets jumped on in the face, and Shio will back him up. 3 seconds for the prison. Does Shio even need to commit it? Will at least get the flash out of Ayoya. He escapes with his life. The soul is picked up and BDS in absolute control.
I like the heads up from Labrov to literally just throw his head into the face to try and stop the Void. Doesn't quite work out, but this was a way too big of an overextension from BDS. You have your win on the bottom side. They think they can make a quick pick, but don't realize the Mad Lions are around because they're, again, not really playing around their vision. And with that, Adam does end up going down. Shio manages to escape, but Crowny, he's just too big. 7 kills on the Zeri at the start of this fight, 9 by the end of it.
I mean, when you look at the overpowered nature of Crowny Zeri right now, while, yes, Shio and Adam's call was undoubtedly bold in the middle lane, they got the inhib, they got the soul, they got multiple kills, so the net positive was great overall. And
Are you trying to say it's a great base? Is that what you're trying to get at?
I was just trying to say that maybe Shio and Adam were just master baiters in that particular situation. And 16-6, nearly 6,000 gold. And BDS now with super minions in multiple lanes. Honestly, however they want to close this out, they can look to do it. Because despite Shio being caught, Crowny maybe a little bit of trouble. But in between 2 members, here comes Shio for the save. The guillotine comes out. There is just too much damage, too many items in the lead. And with 10 seconds to Baron, BDS can play the safe, or they can just pour into the base.
He's still full health. That's so
it's
dumb.
unbelievable.
It's so dumb. But now BDS, as you say, Baron up and available. Hilly is going to see what he can do with Niski. I don't feel like he's got incredibly high hopes. Niski has a good amount of AP, maybe a steal?
I mean, Dark Matter is going to be one of the only ways. Baleful Strike and Dark Matter, I just don't think he's going to be able to get in range. 4,000 hit points, help over the wall, Apprehend and Lantern backwards. BDS will be able to pick up this Baron. 10 seconds for Ayoya, 18 seconds for Chasey, and Niski's the next target. Labrov may want to chase him down. Decides against it in the end. And for BDS, this is a significant lead. And they've been able to control the pace of the game as Crowny now looking for Kazi, forced to use that Lantern to safety. The base will have super minions from the bottom lane in just a moment. The inhibitor in the middle lane will be resecured again, and at 30 minutes, Mad Lions have been suffocated out of this entire match.
There's just nothing that they can really do. Kazi!
Look at that damage from the death rate. 50% already down. Ultra Shock Laser, that chunks Niski for 30% of his hit points. Also, there are stopwatches on, I think, both Nuke and Crowny, so even if they do get jumped on, stopwatch that Primordial Burst, stopwatch that CC, and they can continue the fight.
I think the timer is coming to a close for Mad Lions, though. Nothing left. Bot inhib, mid inhib gone, top soon to follow, and Niski's trying to land these event horizons, but BDS just playing on the edge.
Yep, timer's down. All of a sudden, Crowny and Shio stepping forward. The prison is up, waiting for Shio to pull the trigger. Blue-red for Kazi's not the best in the 5v5. But all three inhibitors are down, and BDS using those Baron empowered minions. The prison goes wide, the pig gets pulled backwards, he's able to escape with his life, but the Chaos Storm takes down Hillisang, and in a 5v4, Nuke is now the target. The stopwatch used, saving his life from Elyoya, and Elyoya is taken out by Crowny. Legendary as the first Nexus turret falls. The second Nexus turret is moments away, and despite the event horizon, there's too little, it's too late. It's BDS destroying Mad Lions.
Crowny 11-0 by the end of that game. A fantastic performance on the Zeri, especially when we had so much of our focus up towards that top side of the map, with Adam on the Darius seeing what he could do, and Crowny's just pew-pewing his way to the top and the bottom.
I am exhausted. The pace of that game was unrelenting. And I think a lot of credit here to BDS, because yesterday, their early game looked great. They generated a significant advantage. They were proactive. But as soon as they got to that mid-game and their composition wasn't able to continue that pace, SK, frankly, smacked them around.
And I think a lot of that was a case of, okay, we have SK playing around their vision well, looking for picks. Every time BDS poked their nose in somewhere, they were getting a bitten off. This game, though, they played a lot slower. They're